Hi guys, so today I want to talk about something that's been in my mind quite a lot recently, and I didn't want to talk about it until I finished my competing, so whether competing was kind of making me feel this way, but I've been sitting on it for a while now, and having seen things unfold across the year, I want to touch upon the subject of the wellness category. So I feel like some people have kind of got this category a little bit wrong, and I know a lot of big coaches have spoken about it on their social media as well, and they feel the same with me. I think people feel like the category is quite easy in a way, that you can come and jump on stage not in massively great condition, but at the end of the day I think people need to realise you still need to be conditioned to be in wellness. It's not a case of, you know, having a big lower body just because you're holding body fat on it. You've got to have a big lower body, you know, and hold condition as well. You know, being a female myself who holds body weight on their lower body, it's easier in off season to be like, oh, I'm massive, you know, I've got loads of size in my lower body, but quite often that is body fat for most females. And even when I sort of started prep, my lower body did downsize quite a lot. So I think people are jumping on stage, and they have done this year, and people have won shows as well. They're jumping on with, in my opinion, they're still holding far too much body fat. They're not actually lean enough. Now, with the condition with wellness, I personally feel it's a really hard category to strike right, because you can't have the condition of a figure athlete, you know, striations through the glutes, through the quads, but then again, you can't be holding any body fat. So you want to be on stage and you want to look really tight, full, but also conditioned. And I think that's quite a hard look to obtain. So yeah, I mean, when I jumped on stage, like, my feedback from my regional was coming a little bit leaner, and I had a tiny bit too much body fat between my glutes and my hamstrings. Not a massive amount, like, but on stage you can kind of just see it slightly. So if the Arnolds, I came in a lot tighter. But there was a point where I was coming in really lean, and I had like feathering through my glutes, and we had to fill me back up, because, like I said, it's a really sort of hard category to strike that, you know, that balance. Another thing that I've touched upon before is I think people feel like the wellness girls need to have a bikini size upper body. That's also not true. If you look at the top wellness athletes, go on their Instagrams and see them train upper body, they are wham still. But again, you've got to have that like bigger lower body and obviously not match the upper and the lower. So you still need to have that dominating lower body. But at the same time, like, you can't just neglect your upper. Like, you need those thick, big delts to give you that really sort of V taper, that small waist. If you don't have a small waist anyway genetically, you want to build those lats and those delts. You don't want to come in with a massively built up chest like figure or physique or women's bodybuilding. Again, you've got to strike that really sort of fine balance. I personally train upper body twice a week, and if you see my Instagram, I am quite developed in my upper body, but again, my lower body does look more dominant. But, you know, my goal this off season is to ensure that my rear delts are still thick, my actual delts are thick, and my lats. So when I hit those poses, I've got that really sort of nice V taper, and then with some really big legs. So yeah, don't neglect your upper body, because it's just not, that isn't what wellness is, okay? You still want to look really athletic. So as I said before, you lose a lot of size when you're dieting, okay? So you might start a prep looking really sort of massive in your lower body, and then you sort of start dieting down, you're like, shit, my legs actually aren't as big as I thought they were. So you've got to consider that. Before you say that you are wellness, I would diet down first and then see how you look super shredded. Again, because you do come in still super shredded. Again, I'm gonna go back to the Arnolds. I've got a really sort of good comparison that I can make. So the girl I beat in my class, she was a lot bigger than me. So I was backstage and I was like, oh my God, this girl's gonna win. Like, I've lost. Her legs were bigger than mine, her glutes, she was just thicker. But I still beat her, but she wasn't as conditioned as me, and her proportions weren't like mine. So I had a smaller waist. Although she was way bigger, I still beat her. So I think don't get caught up on size so much. Like, it's not the bigger the better. You've got to have the proportions. You know, you have to have that. Like, if you look at some of the girls, like the Francelle, she's actually not the biggest on stage all the time, but she's won the Olympia, you know, a few times. So you've got to really sort of think about, okay, is my waist small enough? Do I have the proportions? Am I posing right? Do I look feminine? You know, femininity is a massive thing as well for wellness. I think that should stay as well. And then the last thing, which I'm probably going to get some hate for, but it's a genetics game. So for me, when I started competing, I was no way going to be bikini. Even though I'd barely lifted weights in my life, or properly anyway, I can never be bikini. Genetically, I'm not made for bikini. It's like the classic physique guys. Like, some guys can't do classic because their waist isn't small enough. Some guys can't do physique because their waist isn't small enough. You know, you have to find a category that you actually genetically fit into. Yes, there are people who train for a number of years and start to really, really grow and develop. That's absolutely fine. But I do think, you know, having a dominant lower body from the onset is always going to like help, you know. Some girls, like some bikini girls, they just couldn't physically grow to the size of a wellness girl. I couldn't physically grow my upper body to the size of those like figure girls because my shoulders aren't wide enough. I don't have a figure girl, you know, a top figure girl shape. I just don't. So again, ask yourself, do you genetically fit into that category? And I'm not saying you have to look wellness from the get-go. I'm not saying that at all. But, you know, you have to pick a category in bodybuilding that you're going to suit. Otherwise, you're going to keep chasing and chasing and chasing and get so frustrated when you don't start to get placed and stuff. So just be realistic with yourself. Have a chat with your coach. Think to yourself, like, do I fit into this category? Go and watch some shows, and then you'll soon sort of know. And then obviously when you diet down, you'll then see where you sort of fall into. But again, with the wellness category, you need that small waist, you need those massive legs, and you need that femininity, in my opinion, still as well, and a nice developed upper body. So hopefully that's kind of helped some of you. It might sound a bit harsh, but I just want to be completely honest because, again, like I said, I think so many people have got wellness wrong. Wellness is not coming on stage with body fat on your legs and your glutes. Wellness is not, you know, holding loads of body fat all through off season. You've got to look wellness when you're lean, okay? And again, that comes from time, that comes from training really, really hard and not rushing the process. So I hope that's helped some of you. If you've got any questions or anything, you can send me a message on Instagram or on YouTube, just comment below. But yeah, thank you for listening to me.